Welcome to this new series called Transitions. So we all go through a lot of transitions, don't you? Right there from a very young age of puberty all the way through to retirement. And sometimes it's associated with things that we choose to do, like a job change or relationships, friendships that we take on, or it's things that are imposed on us. We lose a job, we lose resources, or the reality of marriage or something goes wrong in our lives and a transition is enforced on us. But often they're associated with anxiety or fear of the future. Sometimes it's an illness, so there's an insecurity about our bodies, things are changing, or it's just work, vocation, but the sense of the unknown. So we in this series are going to look not to contemporary kind of gurus and teachers, but rather go back 2,600 years to an ancient teacher called Jeremiah. And he was an amazing man who lived through many transitions in his life over many decades. So he has this to say, and I'm reading from Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 4. The word of the Lord came to me. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. So this part one in this series on transitions is called Before. So you'll see that that word came through twice, at least there in that little passage we read. So what is important about before as we turn to this ancient wisdom is this reliable voice that comes to us from the past, because transition is full of change, isn't it? So firstly, Jeremiah says, before all these unknowns, God knew us. Before we come to know God, we are known. That's a tremendous assurance, a little bit like Table Mountain. Shirley and I were in Cape Town recently, and Table Mountain is just large, it's physical, it's present, and you can orientate yourself around the city according to your position. You know, if you're on the City Bowl side, if you're on the Camps Bay side, if you're on the Rondebosch and Newland side, you know where you are because of the mountain. And because we are known by God before all these unknowns, we turn to Him, the source of life, the source of wisdom, to orientate ourselves in this time of change. Secondly, before we make our plans, God has plans for us. The text says He formed us. So before we think about anything, before we think about what we're going to do or become in this time of transition, we can know that God has plans for us. So we need to get comfortable with solitude, comfortable with the quiet, comfortable like Elijah needed to hear the gentle whisper. God wasn't in the volcano, God wasn't in the earthquake, God wasn't in the mighty wind. God was in that quiet, gentle voice that speaks to us in times of transition. Thirdly, before anybody said anything about us, God appointed us. God had something for us to say because He speaks to us first like a loving Father. Before we diminish or restrict, God has plans for us. For Elijah, it was to be a voice to the nations. Illness sometimes restricts us. Relational change restricts us. Friends come and go. Jobs come and go. Finances come and go. Suddenly retirement is on us. We wonder about the future, this unknown. Essentially, we are appointed, all of us, to be ambassadors, to be witnesses, to be representatives of God. John 3:16, God says, for God so loved the world that He gave His one and only Son. So this time of transition, we're going to become more like God, will make us more giving of our time, less self-centered, more turned towards others, because that's who God is. He gave His one and only Son. A transition is an opportunity to become more giving of who we are to others, of who we are to God, of who we are to the world that doesn't know Him yet. I'll see you next time.